You'll never believe how fast Hollywood can turn from glam to grit. One minute, everyone's fawning over Blake Lively's flawless gowns and quick wit. Next, she's locked in one of the messiest, most expensive court battles we've seen in years, and trust me, you'll want to grab your popcorn for this. We're about to dive headfirst into a showdown that involves massive lawsuits, wild accusations, and a wave of consequences that could cost way more than anyone ever bargained for. This saga didn't just appear out of thin air. For the longest time, you couldn't say a bad word about Blake. She was the darling of Hollywood, the type of star who was on everyone's good side. But how times have changed. It all began when rumors started flying about tensions between Blake and Justin Baldoni. Nobody took it too seriously at first. After all, these are two of Hollywood's nicest faces, right? Then suddenly, a shocking legal complaint landed on Justin's doorstep, courtesy of Ms. Lively. According to court documents, Blake is seeking $250 million in damages. She claims Justin was involved in some serious misconduct that she couldn't let slide. The specifics at first were fuzzy. Was it a breach of contract, betrayal, or something else entirely? Regardless of the details, the number attached to her lawsuit had jaws dropping. You could practically hear people gasping through their phone screens as tabloids plastered the story everywhere. But Justin fired back with a countersuit that raised the stakes to near catastrophic levels. Everybody wants to know, what does this man have on Blake that he's confident enough to demand even more money than she did? You don't just casually toss around figures like $400 million without one heck of a plan. And from everything I've seen so far, Justin has receipts that may flip this entire narrative on its head. So how in the world did these two get locked in such a mess? Some folks think it all started off with a deal gone sour or a behind-the-scenes promise that never materialized. Others whisper that personal grudges are fueling the flames, pointing to issues none of us know about. At this point, the rumor mill is spinning nonstop, and the fan base is in utter shock. Because truly, who ever expected Blake and Justin to ever feud? But that's exactly what's happening, and it's only getting hotter from here. Now, let's talk about the lawsuit that put this drama on the map. Blake's legal team came in strong, claiming Justin was involved in serious misconduct. We're talking allegations so severe that she believes she's owed $250 million. Blake's people said they had no choice but to go public because justice must be served. Yet some are wondering if the real motive was to corner Justin and force him to settle quickly. You'd think someone filing a $250 million lawsuit would be absolutely certain of their evidence. But folks started picking apart her claims. Did Blake have enough dirt to win such a massive sum? Or was the giant price tag just a scare tactic? And if it was, well, it sure backfired. Because the moment Justin got word, he turned around and smacked her with an even bigger lawsuit, $400 million. Still, Blake wasn't showing any signs of backing down. She made the media rounds, dropping hints about the outrageous wrongdoing Justin supposedly committed. Sources say she was practically counting on the court of public opinion to tip in her favor. If she got the press on her side, she'd look like the victim. And who doesn't want to defend the radiant star America's grown to love? But that strategy only works if you're the one steering the ship. Once Justin's countersuit dropped, the public started asking a different question. Is Blake Lively telling the whole story? Because if she was, how did Justin get so confident he could label her accusations as extortion and defamation? If he's telling the truth, that means she tried to weaponize the legal system for her own gain. And that's a serious strike against her good girl image. And what happened next would shock everyone. Justin's countersuit overshadowed Blake's original claim completely, and the media latched onto that like bees on honey. Let's break down that countersuit. Justin isn't just calling Blake's claims baseless. He's saying she crossed lines no one should cross. He's throwing words around like extortion and defamation, which basically means he's accusing her of lying to ruin his reputation and milk money out of him. When you put it that way, we're no longer talking about petty Hollywood gossip. We're talking serious consequences. If the court finds Blake guilty of defamation, that could be career-ending. If they find proof of any extortion attempts, let's just say it wouldn't be pretty. Justin's never been known as a troublemaker. He's the philanthropic guy who always tries to spread positivity. So, for him to snap back with such ferocity, something big must have gone down. Nobody invests this level of money in legal fees and reputational risk unless they're completely sure they're right. On top of that, Justin went public with his counterclaim the same way Blake went public with her accusations. He wanted the world to know he wasn't playing. His lawyer even hinted they had collected a mountain of digital evidence that could dismantle Blake's entire narrative. The word on the street is that Justin's side is sitting on receipts that expose every last detail, and they aren't afraid to use them. But that wasn't the whole story, because everything boiled over in a 90-minute courtroom hearing that left Blake's team scrambling for damage control. Imagine the tension in that room. You've got Blake on one side, her impeccable Hollywood image on the line. On the other, Justin, cool and collected, ready to counter every jab thrown his way. Right in the middle is Brian Fredman, Justin's lawyer, who made it clear from the jump that he wasn't there to play nice. The hearing was supposed to set ground rules, but it ended up becoming a full-blown brawl of motions, objections, and big revelations. Blake's team, spooked by Fredman's public statements, asked the judge for a gag order. They wanted him silenced, claiming his continuous interviews would prevent a fair trial and tarnish Blake's name. Well, the judge shut that down. He pointed out that both sides had used the media from the start, so why muzzle one and not the other? From there, everything was a downhill slide for Blake's lawyers. They pushed back, insisting Fredman was overshadowing them, giving multiple interviews, launching a website showcasing evidence, and basically controlling the narrative. Once again, the judge wasn't having it. It was a free speech matter. If Blake could speak out, so could Justin. Decision after decision went in Justin's favor, and you could practically sense the panic in Blake's corner. You know what ramped it up even more? The revelation that Justin intended to post legal documents, recorded calls, and text messages on a dedicated site. That way, the public could see exactly what was happening. Blake's attorneys lost it. They argued that this was an attempt to manipulate the court of public opinion. But Justin's side argued right back that she had done the same thing when she leaked her lawsuit details to the press. The judge saw no reason to stop Justin from fighting back, and that sealed the deal on the gag order. And it only got messier when Blake's lawyers tried a Hail Mary, asking the judge to let Blake pick who would question her during deposition. Surprise, surprise. The judge refused. Just when you thought things couldn't get worse for Blake, the judge dropped another bombshell. Both lawsuits, her $250 million complaint and Justin's $400 million countersuit, would be merged into a single case, set to go to trial in March 2026. This effectively means there's not going to be a drawn-out back and forth. Instead, all the messy details will come out at once. People are buzzing about what the combined lawsuit could reveal. There's talk of hush money deals, private messages that show conflicting stories, and potential testimonies from other celebrities who have inside information. Some folks wonder if a settlement will happen before then. But with each side demanding hundreds of millions of dollars, it seems less like they're seeking an easy way out. It feels personal. And guess who stands to gain the most from this merger? Justin. He's already winning the smaller legal battles, shaping public perception, and racking up court victories that make him look more credible by the day. If he continues to ride this winning streak into 2026, Blake could be facing an uphill battle she simply can't afford. But that wasn't the end of the story, because where there's Blake, there's usually Ryan Reynolds. And honey, Ryan might find himself in the danger zone too. You don't have to be a Hollywood insider to know that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are one of Hollywood's favorite power couples. They've built a brand around being witty, playful, and so picture perfect it's almost unfair. But this lawsuit is like a tornado tearing through their reputation. If Blake loses, it's not just her bank account on the line, it's theirs. That $400 million is higher than both of their net worths combined, especially when you factor in taxes, legal fees, and everything else that comes with giant judgments. Can you imagine Ryan dealing with the fallout of a $400 million loss? Sure, he's got his own thriving business ventures, but we're still talking about a staggering sum that could bankrupt a small country. This isn't just a line item on a spreadsheet. If Justin proves Blake's accusations were false, it could wreck the entire brand that Blake and Ryan built around themselves. Word on the street is that Ryan is urging Blake to consider a settlement, or at least to find some sort of compromise. He's a businessman at heart, and good business sense usually means you don't gamble your entire financial future on a legal standoff you might lose. But would Blake's pride let her wave the white flag? That's the million-dollar question. Well, more like a $400 million question. And while Ryan might be anxious, the public is dying to see whether he'll finally step forward and say something. So far, he stayed mostly silent, probably trying not to stir up even more headlines. But at some point, he might have to pick a side or make a call that could change their entire marriage. This lawsuit's not just about money. It's about trust, reputation, and every aspect of their personal life that might get dragged into the spotlight. Still, that's nothing compared to what awaits Blake if she actually loses this case in spectacular fashion. Let me spell it out for you. If Blake fails to prove her accusations, she's not just going to lose a few endorsement deals. She's facing a potential meltdown of her entire career. Nobody in Hollywood wants to work with a star who's been publicly discredited in such a massive way. It's one thing to have a little scandal that you can laugh off on a late-night show. It's another thing to lose a court case where the judge flat out rules you lied or attempted extortion. Let's talk financial ruin. $400 million could bury even the wealthiest celebrities in a sea of debt. Blake might be forced to liquidate assets, give up properties, and say goodbye to the luxurious lifestyle she's worked for. You can bet the tabloids would have a field day, printing headline after headline about her downfall, and the public would eat it up. And guess what? Hollywood might not be so quick to welcome her back. In an industry that thrives on hype but respects power, losing such a high-profile case would mean Blake's power evaporates almost overnight. Studios wouldn't want to gamble their budgets on a star tangled in a scandal this massive. Directors and producers would keep their distance, fearful of the PR nightmare that could follow her. Even her charitable work might be overshadowed by this catastrophic lawsuit. Once the headlines brand you a villain, redemption arcs are never easy. Meanwhile, Justin could waltz out of that courtroom with his reputation stronger than ever. Hollywood loves a comeback kid, and if he can prove he was wrongly accused, he'll become the celebrity phoenix rising from the ashes. That newfound clout could open all sorts of doors for him, while Blake faces the reality of rebuilding her life from scratch. This entire spectacle is just getting started. If the pretrial hearing was that explosive, imagine how March 2026 will look once the case goes before a jury. Buckle up, because we're heading for a finale so dramatic, you'll think you stumbled into a Hollywood screenplay. Blake Lively's legal war against Justin Baldoni has already unleashed chaos on both sides. And with lawsuits merging, lawyers brawling in court, and Ryan Reynolds caught in the middle, things are about to get even wilder. Nobody emerges from a $400 million meltdown unscathed, and it's beginning to look like Blake's image might be the first casualty. Will she try to settle before this gets any uglier? Or is she prepared to gamble it all on one final throwdown in 2026? Thanks for supporting the Gossip Wire. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more of the hottest celebrity news online.